Apple's working on a smart home hub that will rely heavily on the more capable and new version of Siri that should be coming next year. We've heard quite a bit about this hub over the last 2 years, but a recent iOS 26 code leak provides a little bit more additional insight, or at least kind of confirms what we might expect to see on some of these rumored features. Before we get into those recent leaks, let's do a quick refresh on what the heck this home hub actually might be. And we'll start with the rumored design. Apple's smart home device will somewhat resemble an iPad, and it'll have an all-display design. It is expected to be square rather than rectangular, and it will measure in at 6 inches with thick bezels around the edges. In terms of size, it will look similar to about 2-ish iPhones that are side by side, and it will be small and lightweight to allow it to be moved from room to room. The device will support touch input for opening apps and controlling connected devices. Apple is also designing 2 versions of the Home Hub, apparently. One will have a 7-inch display, and it's meant to be mounted on the wall, and the second version has the same 7-inch display with a speaker base that looks similar to a HomePod mini. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has suggested that the smart home device will have a hemispherical dome-like base, similar to the older iMac G4, which I do absolutely love the design of, with the small screen positioned at an angle on the base. The smart home hub will be able to determine how close a person is standing to it, adjusting features from there. So when no one is nearby, for example, it might show the temperature, but if someone approaches, it could shift to an interface for adjusting perhaps the thermostat. Person detection will likely allow it to be used in smart home animations for doing things like turning on the lights when someone enters a room. The sensor might be able to tell one person from another, and it could recognize hand gestures for more longer range control. Apple's also considering adding extra sensors that would plug into outlets throughout the home to interface with the hub, but it's not clear if these are actually going to be manufactured. In terms of speakers, Mark Gurman has said that it will have built-in speakers and perhaps an optional dock that adds additional speakers, but Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo believes that this device will fall more in line and be positioned as a HomePod and will join other HomePods in the lineup, but will have a display. Potentially. Apple's Home Hub will also be running an operating system that Apple has been referring to internally as Charismatic. Charismatic is designed to be used by multiple members in a household, and the interface centers on clock faces and widgets for Apple apps. There may also be a Siri virtual interface with a Siri that has a personified appearance. Apple is said to be considered making that Siri look more like an animated version of the Mac Finder icon, which I kind of really like the idea of. Apple does not plan to create a dedicated app store for the Home Hub, but will come with several apps pre-installed. The main view will be a customizable home screen with widgets that can show the weather, important home controls, photo slideshows, upcoming calendar events, and so much more. A built-in camera will scan the face of each user, bringing up different apps and a home screen for each person. So if I walk in the room, the calendar should shift to my personal calendar, whereas if my wife or when my kid gets older and he has its own phone and can take advantage of that, it should shift to the other people in the house. Now, some of those pre-installed apps include Safari, Apple News, Apple Music, Notes, Calendar, and Photos, as well as the Home app for some of those smart home hub controls. Now, I'm hoping and assuming this will also be open to third-party developers, but it's unclear whether those third-party apps will be available at launch or if this is something that will have to take place afterwards. So those are most of the rumors that we have had over the last 2 years or so about this new product, and recently we just got leaks about this in iOS 26 code. Apparently, Macworld is claiming that it has internal access to a version of iOS 26 that references several upcoming Apple devices, including this Home Hub, and the site includes some of the hints are related to the camera, and so we have information that the device will have a camera, but it'll be limited to 1080p. Face ID will also be on this Home Hub, and it will be used for authentication as well as to identify who is in the room. Profile switching with Face ID feature, the Home Hub will be able to switch to the profile for the person in the home who is interacting with the device. Apple engineers are apparently using an app to test the accuracy of the system. And we are expecting Apple Intelligence support, so Apple will have a new version of Siri and support Apple Intelligence, which, again, these are all things that we kind of knew about, but it's good to see that these are actually in the iOS 26 code leaks apparently and referencing these new features. Macworld also spotted signs of another device identified as J229. This is apparently a never-before-seen product that has multiple sensors that can detect alarm sounds and capture images, but this is an accessory rather than a standalone device, and Apple has been rumored to be working on a home security camera to go along with the Home Hub. Now, there is no word on when the camera could launch, but it would be absolutely amazing if these two things launch side by side, or at least maybe Apple talks about it and showcases it, but it will be coming at a later date. We're expecting the Home Hub to launch right around the time that the new Siri version comes out in iOS 26.4, so likely March or April. So we could have a spring event potentially discussing all of these new changes with Siri, what we can expect, and of course, the Smart Home Hub product. Of course, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Is this something that you would buy? There are other products out there that kind of do this stuff already. We have the Google Home Hub displays. We have the Alexa, the Echo Show 15. There are tons of third-party products that can do this already, but an Apple version, of course, does not exist, but hopefully it will soon. And I would love to hear from you on whether or not this is something that would pique your interest. Let me know in those comments down below. This is Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.